So we're going to go on to the second movement. It's called a game of chess. Now, there is a reference to a game of chess somewhere in this movement. But when you get there, you might wonder, why is the whole movement named that? And it doesn't come back. The game of chess doesn't come back. So there must be something about a game of chess, a particular game of chess, that becomes the game of chess, which is important enough for it to be able to refer to everything that happens in the second movement. Understanding structure always helps you understand meaning. There are 3 scenes in this second movement. And they all have to do with sex gone bad. What does that have to do with the game of chess? Eliot's so tricky, too tricky when this is concerned. I hate what he did with the notes in general. He gives us a note to tell us there's a play called The Game of Chess by Thomas Middleton, another one of Shakespeare's contemporaries. And you can go to that play and read it from front to back 3 or 4 times in a row and wonder, what the heck does this have to do with the wasteland? And guess what? It doesn't. Eliot's leading you astray by sending you off in that direction. Remember, he wrote the notes only because he had to. He didn't want to help anybody out with the notes. He just had full pages. Not everything about T.S. Eliot is wonderful, but his poetry is. There are lots of things about T.S. Eliot that are very problematical, but they're mostly personal kinds of things. Game of Chess. Middleton wrote another play called Women Beware Women. And in that play, there's a lovely lady who has a beautiful daughter. And the lovely lady is a very simpatico person. And she gets a visit from a very nasty, evil lady who's in cahoots with a very nasty, evil man. And the man wants to rape the daughter of the nice lady. In order for this to happen, the nasty lady comes over to spend the evening with the nice lady and says, why don't we have, you guessed it, a game of chess? And while she's got the other lady engaged in the game of chess, the villain is able to slip in, go upstairs and rape the daughter. That's the use of the game of chess here. It's pretty nasty. These 3 scenes all have that same preoccupation. But while that carries on, what differs from scene to scene? It has to do with social class. Eliot has written the first scene about a high-class lady who lives in an expensive house and has all sorts of expensive kinds of makeup, and her boudoir is an expensive kind of room. We get a look at her. In the second scene, we have a middle-class couple, maybe upper middle class, certainly. It's a portrait, in some ways, of Eliot and his wife. And they have a tough time together. And then the third scene is working class. You got a bunch of people in a pub talking about what's going to happen now that the war's over. Albert's coming home. Your husband, Albert. Where do we go from here, my friend? And the bar closes down eventually, as have to at a certain time of night. When I lived in England as an undergraduate here, it was 10:30. I don't know if it's still 10:30. And warning, 10-15 minutes before it's closing, you hear the bartender in a big voice usually say, last call. And then at the very end, in the last 2, 3, 4 minutes, you will hear the landlord, saying, "Hurry up, please, it's time. Hurry up, please, it's time." And you have to get out of there by 10:30, or please come along and close him down if you could. Now, let's take a look at that first scene. I'll get the text up for us. The first scene starts with a very long description of this lady sitting at her vanity, the table where she's doing her makeup. Goes on a long time. Let's look just at the beginning. The chair she sat in, like a burnished throne, glowed on the marble, with the glass held up by standards wrought with fluted vines, from which a golden cupidon peeped out. Another hid his eyes behind his wing. Doubled the flames of 7-branched candelabra, reflecting light upon the table as the glitter of her jewels rose to meet it from satin cases poured in rich profusion. What kind of poetry have we got here? Not Madame Sosostris with her bad cold. Not Stetson. How about that corpse you buried in your garden? This is elevated language, just like the 19th century liked to do. This is careful detail of exquisite detail, of rich bits that you can look at. But the C in chair is capitalized. It's a special chair. The chair she sat in, like a burnished throne, glowed on the marble. Now, in Shakespeare's day, anybody who had done a lot of reading would recognize that allusion. We don't read Shakespeare as much as we used to. You might not recognize that allusion. It's not from one of his most popular plays, anyways. It's from Antony and Cleopatra. Antony and Cleopatra. Tristan is older. Another famous loving couple. Enobarbus, another character in the play, gives us a description of Cleopatra, the most beautiful and the most sexually attractive woman ever, is her reputation, of Cleopatra floating down the Nile on a barge. And he describes that barge and everything around it, and the people, and even the wind. And it goes on a long time. Why does he have to do it with her off stage? Because she's too overwhelming for anything on stage to really carry it off. And of course, in Shakespeare's time, it would be a boy playing the part. There were no women in his troupe, anybody's troops. And that line from Shakespeare is not the chair she sat in, but the barge she sat in, like a burnished throne, glowed on the marble. So we have this lady, upper class lady, somewhere in maybe London, sitting at that makeup table. And she's being pictured like Cleopatra. Now, Cleopatra is the greatest sexual prowess of anyone ever, according to Enobarbus. And here are the famous lines with which he ends his description of her. Age cannot wither her, nor custom stale her infinite variety. Other women cloy the appetite they feed, but she makes hungry where she most satisfies. Wow. You have to listen closely to understand what he's saying. She's infinitely various, so you never get bored. You can never expect what's coming next, and it comes next, you think, oh, that again. She's infinitely various. And while other people cloy the appetites they feed. Here I am, I'm your sexual partner. I have fed your appetite and you're all cloyed. You can go to sleep now. You can get up and go away now. It's over for you. You're cloyed. You've had enough. While others cloy the appetites they feed, she makes hungry where she most satisfies. So at the very moment of the greatest satisfaction that she brings, she makes you hungry for more. Now that's a sexual superstar. And this lady, in her boudoir, at her vanity, is being presented to us with an allusion to Cleopatra, to bring again the illusion back home, and we've got a Cleopatra-like lady, or at least so she hopes, doing her makeup. And we get all these details. Cupids are peeping out from behind their wing, they can't even look at her. She's so overwhelming, even the little godette of love can't look at her. Double the flames of 7-branch candelabra, because even the words are long and overly enriched. Reflecting light upon the table as the glitter of her jewels rose to meet it. The light comes down the candelabra. The jewels come up from satin cases. Every detail is luxurious in rich profusion. And vials of ivory and colored glass unstoppered lurk her strange synthetic perfumes, unguent, powdered, or liquid, troubled, confused, and drown the scents in odors. Goodness gracious. The rhythms of it, it's all high-level poetry. Even the semantic choices, vials of ivory and color, unstoppered, lurked, not they just where they lurk, her strange synthetic, the alliterations creeping back in. Perfumes with P, unguent, powdered with P, or liquid, lurked and liquid, stirred, lurked and stirred, the same vocalic sound, a lot of vowel sound, by the air that freshened from the window. These ascended and flattening the prolonged candle flames, flung their smoke into the laquiarea. One of the reasons I love reading The Wasteland aloud is that I never in my life otherwise have a chance to say the word laquiarea. I mean, is that a gorgeous word? Laquiarea. Stirring the pattern on the coffered ceiling. And we now get the description of what the picture looks like. Huge seawood fed with copper burned green and orange. We get a color show framed by the colored stone, in which sad light a carved dolphin swam. Above the antique mantle was displayed, as though through a window gave upon, no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong, it's though, as though a window gave upon the sylvan scene, the change of Philomel by the barbarous king, so rudely forced. It's no accident that Philomel's name is dropped here. Do you know her story? Her story is important to know, because it ties in with everything. This is something that helps you if you know about it. Philomel, or Philomela, is a character from Greek mythology. Her sister was married, Procne was married to a guy who was a king, and he had a great lustful wish for his sister-in-law. So his name is Tereus. And Tereus finds a way of being alone with Philomela, and he rapes her, and he likes it, and he continues this on a regular basis. He puts her in a house just on the edge of the city so that he can go visit her under guard, so he can go visit her whenever he wants. His wife doesn't know anything about this. And when it seems like Philomela is going to spill the beans, he has her tongue cut out. So with no way of making understandable noise, she starts doing a tapestry. She's weaving the story of her being raped. King discovers this on his way out there to kill her, and the gods take pity of her. Thank goodness, about time, folks. And they raise her to the heavens as a star. Well, I think there's a star in her name, but they raise her as a bird. They raise her as a nightingale, which is wonderful irony, because the nightingale supposedly has the most beautiful song of all the birds, and she's a woman with no tongue. So the one with no tongue was given the greatest song. Now, it's a tale about rape, and it's a tale about sadism. It's a tale about violence. It's not a nice tale, but that's the tale that's brought in as though a window gave upon the sylvan scene the change of Philomel by the barbarous king so rudely forced. Yet there the nightingale, Philomel, filled all the desert with a viable space, and still she cried, and still the world pursues. Chuck, chuck, which for some reason is the way English poetry presents the gorgeous sound of the nightingale to dirty ears. Let's take a break, and we'll continue with it.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yes.
Oh, I ended the meeting. I don't want to end the meeting.
Okay.
I've done